Wishing that I could run away with you. Imprisoned by fear, just pull me away, pull me away. Secrets, fantasies, and me.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the third part of fixing the VXR. We're picking it up where we left off. Again, we don't want these videos to be too long that you guys get disinterested, so this is why we're doing it in parts. Jack is just taking the piston off the top of the
Conrod.
yeah, I was getting there of the Conrod. So what we're going to do now is, in this part, you'll probably see us taking the head off to get skimmed. Me and Curtis will probably go and do that, or Jack will actually come now due to unforeseen circumstances.
Pretty good circumstances.
Very good circumstances. If you guys hadn't noticed, I'm just going to show you quickly this. So we'll leave that there. But with that being said, you will see us take the head to get skimmed, and then we'll switch straight back after a couple of seconds when we get the head back. And once we've got that, we'll start putting the car back together. We are waiting to get the parts ordered in to start putting this back together as well. So you guys get your raffle ticket orders in. Don't forget, make sure you're purchasing them before the time runs out. As soon as the tickets are sold, there's no extra tickets being sold either. It's the exact same amount. So as soon as they've gone, we will be drawing the raffle. We'll do it on a video. We'll do it pretty much like live if we can. And yeah, we'll see you guys in a minute with the next clip. So Jack is removing the piston from the Conrod here. Now, if you remember from the last part, we talked over the issues with the piston and how it was damaged. You can see that here as well. Literally a chunk out the side of it was missing. These cars are nice cars, but it's just such a shame on the faults that they have. Right now, Jack is just putting the piston, the new piston from Vauxhall, back on top of the Conrod. And then we've got to soak it in some oil for some time to make sure everything's all lubricated. So right now, the piston has been soaking in a takeaway Chinese tub. But it is new, there's nothing been in it. It's just what we have in the back room when we have food. So that is ready to go in now. We're pretty much ready to put it in. And Jack has finished also sanding down areas and such on top. You can see here, he's gone over all this because he's a diamond, aren't you, Jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, whole lot. So we're going to now put this new piston in and yeah, enjoy. Enjoy. Jack's using a piston ring compressor right here to push the piston down. Is just using the edge of a mallet, basically, just to put it in, like tapping it very, very slightly. And I mean very, very slightly. This will allow you to push it further down into the block and the bore, so you can attach it underneath again to the bottom of the Conrod. And yeah, this will help you set it as well. So now the piston, the fourth piston is sat in there with the piston ring compressor. You can then just slightly push it down. You can see us doing that here. And like I said, at the bottom, this is where you want to then connect it to the Conrod and everything else at the bottom. So the piston ring compressor is very, very important. It allows it and makes it a lot easier for you to get the metal sitting inside there properly and flush. These bolts at the bottom of the Conrod need to be torqued to 35 Newton meters. Also after that, 45 degrees and then 15 degrees. So now that is tightened up underneath to spec, I've got torque wrenches and all that as well. We are going to be going through a few little bits on it, aren't we, as well as we're tightening up bolts, letting you know what torque we are using, Newton meters, degrees and all that sort of stuff at the same time. But what Jack's going to do now is he's going to turn it over to make sure the pistons are all free as well. Now it's all tightened up properly. And just make sure there's no issues and it's free flowing, basically, aren't you? So let's do that now. You can tell which one is obviously the fourth piston, but you can see they're all working in sync. Absolutely awesome finish so far. So this is all good. This is why it was important as well to do the marks earlier, wasn't it, as well, with the cams and everything else, so everything all goes back in the way that it should, so it's all timed up correct. If you don't do this, you are going to jump into some issues. Now, the next step for us is probably going to clean the sump up, I believe, Jack.
Yeah.
And then start siliconing it back on, sealing it back on. Then we can leave it like a day while we actually take the head to get skimmed. Obviously we can't do that today because it is Sunday, but tomorrow you will know no different because you're going to see it after we've done the sump. So let's do this sump, then straight after that you'll see us going to take the head to get skimmed. Jack, I made some pancakes. You want some maple syrup?
Yeah.
Go on then.
Oh, thanks.
Oh. Tasty. To put the sump on, we're going to have to sand down the surfaces to make sure that there's nothing that's going to prevent a perfect seal. We don't want any leaks, so we're going to put some sealant on, and then we're going to tighten all the bolts up. As you can see, it's 10 Newton meters. That's going to give us plenty of time for the silicone to dry and the sealant as well. And what we'll do is, while the head's being sent off, we'll obviously leave that to cure a little bit longer. So I'm going to quickly try and explain to you why you do the 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, and why it's the manufacturer spec, and why you have to basically follow this sort of thing. So
if you do it wrong, they'll come and find you and slap you around the face.
yeah, there is that. But so, for example, here, if we place this just here, like so, this is saying that we need to turn that light off so you can see. Okay. But as soon as you start tightening this bolt here, for example, so number one, that one and that one will end up having these more loose. So tightening this closer to the actual block, the other head bolts do come loose. So turning it the 90 degree, then 45 degrees. So you do 90, 90 on all of them, and then you do 90, 90 again on all of them, 90, 90 again on all of them, then 45 degrees on all of them. That is the manufacturer's spec. And upon doing that, that makes sure that the actual head sits on the block properly and flush, no issues, no loose bolts, and all that sort of stuff. You usually get this sheet anyway when you buy head bolts, don't you, pretty much?
Yeah, we've got other ways.
We do have other ways. We have ammo all the time to try and sort stuff out. So what we're going to do is carry on with this, start putting it all back together, and you guys can enjoy. Jack's using the syringe here full of oil to place it on the buckets, and he's also putting it where the buckets go in the head for the cams to sit on. You can see here he's actually placing the cams on top of the buckets. Now they're all in place, and now he's about to proceed with the next step. Camshaft bearing caps are being placed over the cams. These will be obviously hand tightened down, and then they will be torqued down as well. Again, remember, it's really, really important to make sure you are torquing everything down when you're doing things like this. They're going to be 8 Newton meters per one, and also as well, you'll be following a strict pattern. This also allows for any other discrepancies when you tighten them, as we mentioned with the head bolts as well. The cam pulleys are being placed on. These need to be tightened up to 50 Newton meters each. Once they've been tightened up to 50 Newton meters, you then need to do it to 60 degrees, and then following that, another 15 degrees. This makes sure, again, all factory spec tight, so we're not going to have any issues later on down the line of anything coming undone. Jack is just putting the timing belt cover on now, then followed by the cam pulleys. The water pump is now going on. You don't really need to replace this, but we're just going to do it anyway. They are pretty much cheap enough to do, so that's going to be not an issue. It's now time for the timing belt to go back onto the pulleys. So this is the important step we was talking about in the beginning, when you have to Tipex the marks on it. This is basically a guide. If you're new to this and you've never done one before, then you need the full timing kit locking tool. Once you've got that, obviously Jack's done many of these already, so he don't really necessarily need it. He knows how to make sure it's all timed up. But using the marks with the Tipex, again, once you crank the engine around, you can see that they all match up as well, which is another indication that the timing is correct with the cams. In this part of putting the VXR back together, obviously you saw the new piston go in, the sump went on, that dried for a few days. That should be perfectly hard and ready to go and watertight. well, oil tight, shall I say, for now. So the head went back on, we got that back as well, the cams went in, the pulleys all went on, and the timing belt went on as well, and it's all timed up. The new head bolts was in, the new water pump is on. So now all that's left is to basically build the engine back up and obviously fill it with fluids, run it, and obviously bleed the coolant as well at the same time. Now this again is part 3. There's probably going to be another part. I'm not sure how many parts there's going to be. There may be 5, maybe 4. It all depends how quick we can put all the car back together. May not show you the whole process of putting it all back together just because of the fact that we showed you take it apart, so to speak. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like repeating things, I think. But I don't know, we'll see how that goes. We may just show that. We may just do everything in part 4 and you'll see it finished. It just depends how it flows, whether we've got some other stuff to say to you or any important bits that we want to put out to you guys while we're putting it all back together. But yeah, if you're liking us rebuilding obviously this VXR and you guys do want a chance to win it, remember it's still going for a raffle. Link, well, Curtis is going to put one on the screen right now. Make sure you go in, get in a ticket. We do the pillar pods, we do the t-shirts, we do the stickers, we do sun strips. Sincerely appreciate you guys sticking around, hitting that subscribe button. Make sure your notification icon is on, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace, guys.